You're listening to Raising Anchor on 990 WBOB. Welcome to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show with Matt Entrigan and Jason Carey. Your home for news, analysis, and everything Rhode Island FC. Each week, they take you inside the locker room, inside the tactics, and inside the storyline shaping RIFC. Now, here's Matt and Jason.
Rhode Island FC are set to take on the Pittsburgh Riverhounds this weekend. Can RIFC get a result against a team that they have struggled against? We're going to break down this Eastern Conference Finals rematch and discuss the significance that this game holds over the rest of the season. Returning back by popular demand and the fact that Matt is still out is the one and only producer Torin Kelly. Welcome back, Torin.
Hey, I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. It's my first doubleheader. Still mentally recovering from both the World Cup final and an El Clamico win, but I'm feeling good for this weekend.
Okay, you sure? So you've got enough fitness to do, back-to-back games here?
Yeah. I've trained a lot with the under 18s, but I finally made my way up to the big leagues. I'm feeling good. Awesome.
Speaking of the World Cup, just a quick kind of like recap on some things here. It's still lingering in some of our minds. I've been seeing a lot of talk online about the fan zone and the experience specifically, and honestly, I was really happy to see a lot of positive reactions to it, and a little. Especially considering a lot of that is regards to the Providence fan zone. We know Boston's closed down early as soon as there's no more games here. We don't want to do this anymore. But we watched the final in the fan zone of Providence, and it was a great experience. There was a ton of people there. And then tying that into Fox Sports actually released a list of the top local markets, and guess who cracked into the top 10? Providence coming in there at number 9, beating out some big markets here like Seattle, Denver, Los Angeles. Apparently, Rhode Islanders enjoy themselves some soccer. Maybe someone should tell Brett Johnson, maybe we could open up a soccer team or something here. That'd be crazy, right?
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy. I mean, yeah, some of those city names are crazy. I can't believe you beat LA. I mean, I think soccer in this state, I've always known it's been big, but especially in New England, it's been growing like crazy, whether that's through the USL or just through, the import of soccer in this country in general. And I think the idea to keep that fan fest open all the way to the final was such an amazing idea. It was so good for the people. I guarantee you it made some money for the city as well. And yeah, I remember we ran into so many people. I think it was the final and one of the quarterfinal games that were all the way down from Boston, all these places in Massachusetts who were I want to watch the game, but I can't go to the Boston fan zone, so I'm going to come all the way down to Providence. So just an amazing idea to keep that open, and it was an amazing experience all around.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad they did it. I hope that for future, large soccer events that we can kind of do something like this again. Moving on to RIFC news here, though. We have one of our players making the team of the week. Looking here, Rhode Island FC announced today that defender Frank Nodarce has been named to the USL Championship Team of the Week for week 1920. The defender earns the honor after scoring the 9th goal of his RIFC career to lift Rhode Island FC to a 1-0 win over regional rivals Hartford Athletic on July 18th. Jojea Quizera was also named to the bench after providing the assist to Nodarce's Derby winning goal. The selection marks the 3rd weekly honor of the 2026 season for Nodarce and Quizera, tying them with J.J. Williams for the team lead. The honor is the 6th of Nodarce's RIFC career and the 9th of Quizera's RIFC career. The pair represent the 10th and 11th Rhode Island FC selections to the league's best 11 through week 20. It's great to see the boys getting some nods here.
Yeah, I think it's huge, and I think it's both deserved. I think Frank was super on the week. I think him getting the Defiance Man of the Match from the players was fully deserved. He was absolutely incredible, both defending and going forward. And I think it was funny. I think it came as a shock to me that he was tied with Quizera and JJ at the top, but I think when I think back on it in detail, I think he's been great this season. I think that sort of sums up, I think, his last two seasons even at RIFC, a very underrated player that continues sort of week in, week out, put in great performances. And I think it's time that, the rest of us start to put some real respect on his name as, one of the first names on that team sheet.
Yeah, I think the tough thing here with Frank Darcy, and Matt kind of mentioned this here in the last press conference when he was talking to Kano, like, where do you see this guy playing? Like, you played him in basically every position on the back line. He's kind of a utility in that regards. He doesn't get a consistent starting role. So I think because of that, maybe I think we forget about how valuable he can be, because there are probably times when he's playing in a position that's maybe he's not the most comfortable in, and he's given it his 100%, but maybe we're not seeing the best version of Frank Darcy because of that.
Yeah, which is so funny to me as well, because it was in that press conference when I think Connor Smith, not to direct quote, but said that at his best, Frank Darcy, in his opinion, is one of the best defenders in the entire league. And honestly, as much as, again, when I first started, I was a little bit like, all right, let's settle down a bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you see him at his best, he's out here getting, man of the matches, team of the weeks 3 times already this season. I think that's fully deserved. And is it maybe time to stop using him as that Swiss Army knife and maybe building around him instead?
Or maybe some other people's need to pick up some other skills. Stoneman, Yao, come on. What else? What other position can you guys play?
Good point.
Some more news here. An actual injury update. This is wild here. Got a press release here from RIFC. Rhode Island FC announced updates today on long-term lower body injuries sustained by forward Jamin Gogo Peters and midfielder Zachary Harivo. Gogo Peters suffered an anterior cruciate ligament tear and underwent successful ACL reconstruction surgery at Rhode Island FC official orthopedic partner, Ortho Rhode Island. Gogo Peters will miss the remainder of the 2026 USL Championship season and is expected to be out for 9 months. Ouch. Harivo suffered an ankle injury in June and underwent successful surgery at Massachusetts General Hospital. Harivo is expected to return in 2 to 6 weeks. What the transparency is this? Any reason you think they're being kind of open with us all of a sudden?
I mean, part of me is, I don't say worried, but part of me thinks that at least the Gogo Peters one is maybe a slight little ad from Rhode Island FC to, tag in their official orthopedic partner in Ortho Rhode Island. But at the same time, then why would you release the Harivo info? So who knows? Maybe this is a bit of a marked change in the front office. I mean, hey, we all love it. Getting to know that sadly Gogo Peters isn't going to be with us for the rest of the season. Hopefully he recovers well and we'll be able to see him for next year. And then same with Harivo. Hopefully he can return as quick as possible and hopefully get him back in that 2-3 weeks period.
Yeah, absolutely. And that not to derail from the fact that, it's unfortunate to see these guys sidelined. I wish both of them speedy recoveries, but it is kind of a new look for communication from RIFC. It's generally not something we see from them to be so transparent. I was going to ask you if you think this guarantees reinforcements. Spoiler alert, they announced something today. Why don't you take it away here, Torin?
So, of course, I'm assuming most of you have heard the news. There is a new signing, as Rhode Island FC have announced new signing today. Osman Foyo, the 21-year-old Dutch forward, who spent the last 4 seasons in the English Football League pyramid clubs, such as Ipswich Town, AFC Wimbledon, Sutton United. I'm actually, funny enough, wearing a Sutton United kit at the moment, so I may not have RIFC on, but I am repping one of our players, and Chelmsford City FC, spanning all the way from the 6th to the 2nd division of English football. Now, to kind of give my own analysis on it, Foyo, to me, is sort of your typical well-rounded center forward. In a lot of ways, he can be that physical presence up front. He is standing at 6'4", and if anyone's actually seen him play, he is absolutely massive, and he does have a lot of pace in behind as well with that. Kano did state that he is a player that can offer, quote, speed and physicality to our attack, so we definitely hope to see that moving forward. But diving a little deeper, I do think Foyo really thrives in a more double striker formation rather than what we currently play at the moment, where he's allowed to roam into those half spaces, pick up the ball, and make things happen with it. He can also play in the wider areas if needed, but his best season at Chelmsford came when he was playing in this 2-striker formation.
Yeah, I think the signing makes a lot of sense for both the club and Kano Smith, right? He is a multi-positional player, like you say. It gives us something different in terms of formation options now. We've seen where, we'll kind of play 2 strikers to a certain extent. Like we don't always have the same formation going forward as we do in defense. We've seen a few 4-4-2, so it's good to have that option there. Another left-footed player, very similar profile to JJ. I assume this is kind of a natural backup, or do you think there's maybe some potential here for some starting minutes?
I mean, I think that's the big question that I have going into this is that, as much as, again, he does feel like a very natural backup to JJ, there has, I feel like, been a lot of people who have been starting to ask, is it right for us to try a double striker formation? I mean, our best season in terms of winning the Eastern Conference final was in a double striker with Fuson and JJ. So is it time to try and revert back to that? As much as I love Pity Rodriguez and a lot of other players, I don't think anyone's really solidified themselves in that number 10 role. So I think this is a good time to bring in someone that maybe we try experimenting a little bit with the tactics, but at the bare minimum, I think he is a near perfect backup for JJ. And as much as there's a lot of good about this players, it's probably right that we do address the bad information that has been going around Defiance recently, and that is that Osman Fayo did have a bit of a betting scandal in the past couple of years. It came out that he placed 252 bets on soccer matches between October 22nd and March 2025 during his time at Ipswich Town. He was given a 5-month ban by the FA and a £1,000 fine. And in results, his loan at Sutton was concluded due to this ban, which expired in January of 2026. So there's some good with the bad. I mean, again, this did expire in January of 2026, so we do hope that he is past this moving forward. But what's your sort of read on this, Jason?
Yeah, not that we're going to turn into a betting analysis podcast all of a sudden, but so I've seen a lot of mixed kind of like positions on this, right? I think there's one thing that we have to kind of point out is betting has kind of got its fingers into football or soccer, if you will, right? Especially in England in the Premier League. There are so many teams that have betting sponsorships right on the front of the shirt. I've watched some, streams where they're maybe from England or something, and there's betting commercials during it. Like, it is, I mean, even young people in the commit, like, betting has kind of gotten its hands into sports. It's even become a little bit more prevalent here in the US. That being said, from what I understand, I look at what he placed bets on, and from what I don't claim to have all of the information, but from what has been told to me, it's not match fixing in the way that, like, I bet on myself to have a yellow card and I'm going to go out there and make sure I get a yellow card. Like, he bet on himself to win. Like, which is one of those things, like, sure, there's 11 other guys who are not going to let you do that. And then you also have to make the other 10 guys on your team have to help you. Like, this is not a sport where one person can literally win the game, right? We saw that in, the World Cup. Mbappe and Messi cannot make up for deficiencies in their team to win. It's very much a complete unit. So while I'm not a fan of it per se, I think it could be much worse. I think it could be in a situation where he was trying to manipulate matches. It seems like, 252 bets is a lot. I mean, I don't want to say this guy's got a betting addiction, but like maybe he needs help, if anything. And I think there's a lot of young people out there who maybe spend a little bit too much of their disposable income kind of going into that. I mean, how do you see this?
Yeah, I fully agree. I think at the end of the day, you have to remember that he's young. I know a lot of times you view these players as not being people and not being like young people, especially, but he's 21. And in 2022, that would have made him 18, like between 17 and 18. That's a very young age for someone to come in with a higher disposable income in terms of being a professional player, and at the same time not being paid enough where you need to find other ways to get that income. So I do just want to stress that he is a young player. I do have more of an insider view as someone that does work for Sutton United at the moment, that this was a bit of a shock coming in, that there was no sort of knowledge that we had up front about this. Sadly, because his loan was concluded, I can't speak to whether or not he did receive any sort of professional help from the club, because his loan did shut down as soon as the ban happened and he went back to AFC Wimbledon. So again, I cannot speak to whether or not he got professional help. We hope he did, and hopefully that is all behind him so he can come back to RIFC and start helping us win more games.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to take a look at RIFC and how they're going to prepare for the upcoming match. Don't go anywhere. It is the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Thank you for listening to tonight's broadcast powered by Sprout Coworking. For all your business needs, large or small, visit sproutcoworking.com. Powering 990 WBOB, that's sproutcoworking.com. Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
All right, no midweek games played this week, so that's going to keep RFC in 8th place for the time being. Hartford plays after us on the weekend, so we'll have the opportunity to either climb higher, depending on how the results go, or at least potentially maintain our spot, depending on what Hartford does there. That's very close right now. Hartford does have to travel out to Phoenix Rising, who have been kind of up and down, so I don't think that's going to be a very straightforward game for them.
Oh, definitely not. Phoenix Rising is always a very difficult team, especially having to travel all the way out to Phoenix. But if we look up at the standings, we currently sit 2 points off of Miami FC and Indy 11, as well as being 3 games in hand now on Miami after their midweek game against Carlos Biggs. Indy will host Loudoun, as Miami will host local rivals Tampa Bay. So both will have some pretty difficult games. Loudoun can always be a tough game, and Tampa Bay are still flying at the moment. So hopefully some dropped points in those games could see us shoot even farther up in the table with an away win this weekend.
Yeah. And so looking ahead to this weekend here, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, historically a team that we have not done well against. The all-time series has seen Pittsburgh victorious 4 times, 1 draw, and 1 RAFC win. And that 1 draw actually comes from our very first meetup back in Burns Stadium, 0-0, very much classic draw kings. And the 1 victory that we got comes from a Jägermeister Cup meeting where there was a bit of rotation, and it saw Albert Dikwa kind of crap house his way to a performance for us. It was very much one of those games where I don't say we got a lucky goal, but we were able to get ahead, and he was harassing their back lines, getting fouled, slowing down the game, very much making it very difficult for Pittsburgh to get back into the game. When we look back to our last match against the Riverhounds, it was the 2025 Eastern Conference Final, which saw us drive, 10 hours away, and unfortunately have to take a 1-0 defeat home. Sleeper agent Mark Ibarra, I'm just joking. He was good for us, but he got sent off. They scored. We could not get back into the game with 10 men. It was a rough match. And honestly, that's kind of how most of our games against them have been. They've been rough matches.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Pittsburgh is a very difficult team to play against. That's kind of the way they play. They just want to make it incredibly difficult. But it is important to know that when you look back at that last match in the Eastern Conference Final, this is a drastically different Pittsburgh side compared to last year's USL Championships. In my opinion, the best players on the day included Eric Dick, who is the goalkeeper of the year, who made 5 saves on the night. He's now at Indy 11. Augie Williams, who I think had a very good game against Hamady Diop and really sort of capitalized on his physical presence. Obviously, he's now in Hartford. And Robbie Mertz, who is the goal scorer on the night, has actually yet to net a goal for Pittsburgh since that match. So I do think this is a very different Pittsburgh side in terms of the players, but the game is still going to be a very difficult one. They still seem to play with that same sort of play style.
Absolutely. Taking a look at RAFC's current form as they head over to Pittsburgh with their win over RFC. They're now 2-2-1 in all comps. Technically, we could argue that maybe there's another win there with the Prinks Cup going to a shootout, but for all intents and purposes, it's a draw, right? So during that time, they've scored 8 goals and let in 4. When we look at the Riverhounds, they're 2-1-2 in their last 5, scoring 6 and giving up 5.
Yeah, I think both teams are coming off statement wins at the moment. I think RAFC, Hartford is less of a statement than Louisville, that's for sure, but it is a derby. It is at home, so that is still a statement win. Obviously, Pittsburgh coming off of a huge win against Louisville 3-1, and both teams I think will be looking to gain some momentum with a second straight 3-point game.
Absolutely. Looking at the roster construction here for the weekend, just touching upon the availability. So we just talked about Zach Harivo here, 2 to 6 weeks. So we're not going to see him here. Jamin Peters obviously out for the season now. Amity Diop and Clay Holstad are pretty close. I don't expect to see either of them. Maybe for Bad Bunny night that's coming up. I think maybe they'll be ready for that. Didn't have time to make a graphic here for the lineup, but we're thinking it's going to be essentially the same here. We're going to have Coque Vegas and net with a back four of Nick Scardina, Karifa Yao, Grant Stoneman, Frank Nodarce, Amos Shapiro Thompson, and Ugo Bacharach in that holding midfielder as Clay is still out, with Jojea Quizera, Pity Rodriguez, and Leo Alfonso, with JJ Williams up top. Kano likes to tinker his lineup to kind of cater towards different matches. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it leaves some of our fans kind of scratching their heads thinking like, what is this? But to be fair, hindsight is 2020. Is there any reason you think that we shouldn't be looking for a consistent lineup here from last time?
I mean, if in all honesty, I fully agree with Kano in terms of tinkering and catering to different matches. But honestly, I think in terms of tactically, this is going to be a very similar game to Hartford. I think, again, Hartford, similar to Pittsburgh, want to make things ugly, want to make things difficult and rough and physical on the night. So I think for me, the lineup has to stay the same from what came with such a commanding win against a similar team. Pittsburgh are going to be very structured defensively, and they're going to enjoy very long periods without the ball. Therefore, it's really important that we have that dynamic attack with Pitti, Leo, Quizera, and JJ. But also it's important to have that structured back line with Frank Nodarce in there rather than Aldair. And I think this is kind of the perfect solution to getting one over Pittsburgh.
You talked about that structured back line, and it's kind of infamous in a way. But there's been quite a change here too, though. Like you talk about all the players that were missing. To me, part of it, like, was it just Eric Dick? I mean, we went to Indy not too long ago, and honestly, I think he still proved to Indy that he's still at least a thorn in our side. Can't speak for the rest of the league, but we do not have success against him. Do you think there's any possibility that without him, maybe there's kind of some option for RIFC to maybe kind of get past this Pittsburgh defense?
Definitely. I mean, I think that's for sure. Again, when you have the literal best goalkeeper in the league last year, obviously, when you don't have him, you're going to be a little bit worse defensively. But at the same time, when you look at our record, we scored once in 6 matches against Pittsburgh. Whether or not Dick is there or not, that's more to that than just one player. And this is our best statistical attack, however. The additions of Leo and Pitti and Quizera and JJ are certainly in purple patches. So for me, I think there's a couple things this year that make me believe we have a bit more of a chance. I think set piece is a huge one. It's as we saw with Arsenal all season in the Premier League. Again, not a Premier League podcast. When you're struggling to score and have good set pieces, that can be a huge way to unlock a game, as well as having more creative players, having Leo and Pitti now, as well as Quizera being higher up the pitch. This could definitely be a solution for us, and hopefully we can make it more than 1-7, at least 2 or 3.
So what you're saying is just get into the box and foul everyone, and they don't call it, right? That doesn't count if it's in the box, as long as you're offense. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, sounds good with me.
Who knew it was that easy? We talk about like trying to score on this team, trying to get one over them, and kind of a history of not being very good against them. You brought up that kind of in a way, this team has gone through some transition, right? Players like Eric Dick, Augie Williams, Sean Suber, Luke Biasi, and Burton Jackson, to name a few, like are not there anymore. And all of those players too played against us there in that final. They've gotten through their transition away from Bob Lilly and come away with a championship. But Rob Vincent is no stranger to their system, right? He's played for them. He's the assistant coach there. And honestly, this transition hasn't been too unkind to them. But we also look at some of their form. There's some losses here that kind of are a bit of a head scratcher, right? They lost to Brooklyn, a team who so far, I mean, maybe, we haven't really had too much of a problem with them. We tied against them with a heavily rotated squad. Sporting Jacks, we tied against. I feel like if we played them right now, we'd probably get past them. But also, who knows? It's Rhode Island FC. But those kind of stand out as a bit odd to me. They also drew against Hartford, whose attack is basically non-existent. So it appears like there are still a little bit of kinks in this Riverhound side. They've led in 18 goals this season, which is the same as us. So to say that they are the most elite of defenses, well, our defense is pretty good tier 2. They played one more game than us, but it's pretty close. I don't know. Is this Riverhounds team the same as they once were?
I would definitely say they're not the same. Again, you list off those players, especially Eric Dick and Sean Suber. I would arguably say were their two most important players last year. They were absolutely fantastic, as well as Augie Williams, Luke Biasi, and Jackson, who I think constantly, whether he was starting or coming off the bench, was fantastic. I do think Rob Vincent is very much sort of the Padawan to Bob Lilly. He is a very similar coach, and even when Bob Lilly wasn't there, they played pretty much the exact same under Rob Vincent, who is obviously the assistant coach to Bob Lilly throughout that time. So I do think that isn't going to change anything, but the players was a big miss. And as much as we have talked about them dropping points, it's still important to say that they are still playing very well. They're still 5th in the table. Again, we talked earlier, that win against Louisville was a huge statement to the rest of the league to say that they're staying in contention for that top 4. As that race for the top 4 is getting closer and closer for the home playoff spot. For anyone who is watching more USL, that top 5 is getting very interesting. And to get a win against Louisville, that was a huge statement. And they're definitely going to be looking to gain some momentum on that.
Yeah, definitely getting a little spicy there in the kind of mix up. It's such a weird table though, because we're behind so many games. It feels like we're in this constant situation where until we catch up, do we actually know where we really stand? So it's kind of tough. We got to take another break here, though. When we return, we will continue speaking about Pittsburgh here and unpack some of the biggest storylines of the weekend, all here on the Raising Acre Soccer Show.
Fans, as the weather becomes more and more unpredictable, be sure to check out 990 WBOB's weather page for all your temperature, storm, and travel info. Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store with the 990 WBOB weather page. Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
Albert Chico Diqua. You ever heard of that guy before?
No, I never heard of him.
Nah, it doesn't ring a bell. Yeah.
Nope. No bells. No nothing.
In RIFC's first season, they had an opportunity to sign the Golden Boot winner from Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and they took that opportunity. He spent 2 seasons with us playing 68 matches, and during that time, he scored 19 goals and recorded 9 assists. That being said, it kind of felt like he never really settled into Kano's system. And ultimately, when there was an opportunity for him to return to the Riverhounds, I think it's kind of been the best option for both clubs in this regard, especially considering our attack this year has been a lot better than last year. Oh, did you mute yourself?
Oh, there we go. All set.
There we go.
All right. Sorry about that. Again, we need Matt Entrican back. Please come back. Just can't have any technical difficulties on a Raising Anchor show. But you just know he's going to score. You just got that feeling. He's coming back. He's in great form at the moment as well. And, I hold no malice towards him. I love to see him in great form. I do think he had a very unlucky time at the club for most of it. He leads the team at the moment with 6 goals in league play and 7 overall. He's very quickly readjusted to Pittsburgh's style of play, which does make you think what really went wrong at RIFC. Why has he switched so quickly after the 2 disappointing years that he had in Rhode Island, where he, again, as you said, never really fit in, never really seemed to play his best.
Do you think maybe it's just because as an Arsenal fan with Arsenal winning the league, it kind of lifted his spirits and he's playing?
Maybe if that's what it was, then we should have kept him for another year.
Speaking of finishing though, tell me about this Pittsburgh offense. How have they been playing under the new manager here?
I mean, it's odd. I think it's similar in a lot of ways to the way that they play under Bob Lilly, where they're not great at creating chances. You know, they do rank 23rd in the entire league for big chances created and 20th for touches in the opposition box. Again, we said earlier, they don't really like to have the ball for too much. They prefer to sit a little bit deeper and counterattack. But when it comes to when they get those chances, they are on absolute fire right now. Aman and Deco up front are killing it. They have 5 and 6 goals respectively in the league, with Aman having his famous record-breaking hat trick last game where he scored 3 goals in 3 minutes. And he currently has 5 goals in his last 3 matches in all competitions. So even though they may not be the best chance creation team, when they get those chances, they're going to punish you.
You hate to see it. What worries about me as a team like this is RIFC tend to give up chances that I almost want to call like flukes at times, right? They almost like no one would have scored that. But the one opportunity we give up is like a shot cross that just somehow floats over the keeper into the back corner. And these teams tend to capitalize on these. It's as if like our luck stat is just poor. Like, I don't know if we need to like respect our character build or something, but it's just like, it doesn't make it. Sometimes it literally doesn't make any sense. Like, how did we give up that goal? And then for us to like fight into that game. So hearing about a team who like, yeah, we have no touches in the box. We never cross the ball at all. Why would we do that? We just somehow score goals.
Yeah, it's definitely worrying for sure. I think that sort of, if you go back and look at our games against Pittsburgh previously, you'll definitely see it's very long spells with us having the ball, no real chances for them, and then out of nowhere, bang, 1-0 Pittsburgh.
And to make things worse is, I'd say our away performances haven't been too great, especially compared to the past. Like this year, RFC are 2-0-4 on the road. 11 goals for, 11 goals against. In the past, I think that RIFC were actually a bit better than they were on the road compared to at home. Part of that, maybe, I don't know if they took them a while to really settle into Centerville Bank Stadium and like make it feel like, no, this is actually our home. But I think at this point, it's kind of become a bit more of our fortress. But away matches to a certain extent feel like a dice roll. We were able to get wins against Loudoun, which is nice to finally get that boogie off of our back. But Loudoun is also not the team before, not without Martin Ryan and his immaculate, they don't play the same. Lexington is a bit of a mess. They're just kind of all over the place, and for some reason they're in the West Coast. Who understands that? But we picked up losses against Louisville, Indy, Sacramento, and Miami. At the same time, though, I kind of look at these and think, like, are these losses that are expected? And is there an away form issue? I mean, I kind of thought that maybe we would get the best of Sacramento, but then also I went back and looked at the form and it's like, maybe they're kind of turning the corner. Louisville had just lost their coach, so they've got the new manager bounce. Indy were like never good against. And apparently Miami has players who played in the World Cup. Like, what even is this timeline? Like, what is this timeline right now? So is there a away form issue? Does it even matter if we keep picking up points at home?
I mean, I think first off, we've sadly lost the Road Warriors title that we had from last season. I think that's no longer us. Apparently, we are much better at home, which as much as is good for the fans to see that we're picking up more points at home than away. It depends on what team we want to be. If we want to be a team that is in the top 4 and wants a home playoff game, then you've got to be able to do both. And I really think in those games, it's sort of a mixed bag. I think you look at Louisville and you look at Indy. I think those are sort of fair enough. Indy, again, as you said, very difficult team for us in the past. Louisville, still a good team, and we're coming off the new manager bounce. But at the same time, Sacramento and Miami, maybe not the best, especially when you look at those games. I think specifically the Miami game, as much as they are in good form, that was a pretty rough game from us. Same with Sacramento. I think you can look at the other team and their performance and talk about that all you want, but ultimately it's important to look at yourself and say, those were not good performances from us, and we need to improve away. And I think there's no better way to improve than to get a win against a team that's famously been very difficult for us in the past.
Absolutely. I think if we're able to get something like this, I think this would be an absolute statement win from RFC if they're able to come away with 3 points. Continuing to look ahead to the match here. The last two matches against Pittsburgh have both seen red cards. I joked earlier about sleeper agent Mark Ibarra. No grief against him at all. He was a consistently solid player for us, but he unfortunately picked up 2 yellows and got sent off in the Eastern Conference Final. We also saw JJ Williams maybe lose his cool a little bit, throw some hands against some Pittsburgh players, and we're down a man. Both losses. So compare that to Hartford, if you will. There's maybe, I don't want to say there's any bad blood between these teams, but these matches maybe can get a little physical, a little feisty, a little fiery. Do you think this trend continues at all? Do we see anyone get sent off this weekend, or do cooler heads prevail here?
I mean, first of all, we hope not, knock on wood. But as you said, this is certainly a match that has history. There is a build-up from whether or not it's us, feeling that level of loss from losing an Eastern Conference Final last season. But weirdly, I actually think, as much as people are probably going to say, oh, we have a history of red cards this year, that's going to, hurt us, and that's going to mean that we're more likely to get one. I actually think that might help us. I think we've sort of gotten that out of our system. We have seen what happens when you lose your head in the game and you get yourself sent off. And then we've sort of seen the repercussions of that. So I'm hoping that by now, Kano has sorted that out with the players and a little bit with himself. We all saw that Louisville away game. And hopefully going forward, as long as we can keep our heads cool and play the way we've been playing, I don't see why we can't get 3 points in this.
Speaking of 3 points, looking ahead to the match here and how RIFC can take all 3 points. Pittsburgh's always been a tough matchup for us, right? The one time we saw success against them was in the Jägermeister Cup, where there was a little bit of rotation. I think that they've been a team that's always had good depth, though. So I don't want to take too much away from what RIFC did there. I think we kind of essentially used their own tactics against them very much. It was a bit of a smash and grab, slow the game down, kill any sort of momentum that they have. Is that something we can do again? I don't think so. I don't think it's part of this iteration of Kano Ball's kind of DNA, if you will. I think what RFC need to do here is they really need to win that midfield battle. And I think it's going to come up huge. Giving away a ball cheaply in poor areas is going to give an opportunity to someone like Chico or Amon to really capitalize on those scraps and put away the one opportunity that we give. That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, we can't afford to do stuff like that. So midfield's going to be very important. Obviously, the back line here is key to that too. It's going to be a tough match, but I think that if RAFC can be calm and composed, not let it get into some sort of, fight, and, try and take their chances, it's a possibility. I think that they can kind of sneak away with like a 1-0 win. I don't think this is something where a team you score multiple goals against. You got to get one and then, to a certain extent, not turtle, but, keep it, play a clean game. What about you, Torin?
No, I fully agree. And speaking on that, I think even just scoring that first goal, that opens the game up, because Pittsburgh want to keep that game closed. They want to fight from either a draw or a winning position. As soon as they're losing and you sort of bait them out of that defensive shape, that's when you see the second, the third, even the fourth, maybe, knock on wood, start to go in. So for me, though, as you said earlier about that sort of smash and grab tactics, and that's not exactly us, I agree, and I honestly think that's because of the creative players that we have now, and that this game is going to come down to that. I think on the ball, those creative players need to find a way to create chances against this famously good low block, but then in turn, our attack needs to be able to finish them off. We've seen the shot conversion rate. We talked about it last episode. We need to get better at finishing the chances that we do actually have. So as long as we can get our creative players like Jojea, Pitti, Leo on the ball, creating chances, and then hopefully JJ in turn can finish them off. That's gonna be where you see the best RAFC. Off the ball, however, the defense needs to be disciplined in the structure. We talked about it. This is a team that's struggling to create chances in Pittsburgh, but when they do get them, they will hurt you and they will not let you think twice about it. So you need to be defensively structured, very similar to last week. I think hopefully if we can keep that defensive structure like we did in the second half, we could easily see Koke having yet another week off, maybe 1-2 saves if he's feeling like it, and see us claim yet another clean sheet.
Love to hear it. So we got to take our final break here. Don't go anywhere. When we return, it's the mailbag and also maybe some breaking news here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entricket and Jason Carey.
All right, here, breaking news before we jump into the mailbag. There are some rumors going around that unconfirmed, that one of our players is going to be moving up to the MLS. So, who do you think that could be? And then also, like, when we look at this, is this a point of frustration? Are we happy to see them move? Like, obviously, we don't know who this is, right? But
I mean, it's tough.
I just drop a bombshell on you.
Yeah, we just got some breaking news mid-podcast. I think at the end of the day, as much as it hurts and it'll be frustrating, because I'd imagine it'll be one of our best players, because again, they are moving up. It is sort of important that we show other players that we can help move them up. Because as much as I would love for this to be, I'd love to have players that stay here for their whole career. If players are truly that good on this team, they're going to use this team as a stepping stone. And I think it's very tough to come to grips with that. And I don't think you can ever fully come to grips with that, if I'm being honest. But it's important to be able to show that, especially for incoming players. I mean, we talk about the fact that we've, of course, just brought in a new player, to be able to show them that if you come to this club, we can, help improve you and help give you the minutes to make you the player you want to be. And then from there, you can go on to bigger things like the MLS, like, higher divisions in European football. That's going to be big for us moving forward. So in the short term, it's going to hurt. And it's going to hurt seeing a good player gone. But in the long term, I do think that this is probably a good thing for us.
Oh, I can't wait to watch the Fast and Furious meme where he drives away and just start crying while, one of our players just leaves us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it good speculation there. You look at players like JJ, Quizera, who are putting up good numbers. Like, obviously we don't want our attack has been good this year. Like, we don't want those players to go, but those would be players they would be looking at. There's probably a few others there. Alfonso has previous experience. I don't know if his performances have like given him that boost, but it's also one of those things where they look at the familiarity. He's been there before. It's going to be if it happens, unconfirmed, it's going to be tough to see, but it's one of those like things that will be very good long-term for the club. Players will look at this as an opportunity to be a stepping stone. And when you take a look at these teams and how some of them, like their entire rosters, like blow up. Obviously, we've been very fortunate to keep a squad of guys in their third season, like together, and put a team that's like, sure, we're only in 8th right now, but we've been to 2 consecutive Eastern Conference finals. Like, this is a competitive team. We know come playoff time, the boys will give it all and make a go out of it. And not a lot of other teams can say that. And when you can also come back there and say, well, guess what? We've also promoted players to the MLS. I mean, that's huge in terms of selling your value to players and getting the ability to bring in players. And then even as you look at that, as that ties into D1, right? Like, that's the reality. Like, we're never going to be quote unquote bigger than MLS, but can we be our own system, our own competitive product, and generate and sell talent to like keep the league afloat? Like, that's the place you want to be in, honestly.
And I would also say that I think that it's also good in terms of forging relationships, because whatever, club we are going to sell this player to, that is forging a good relationship with that club. We've talked several times about our relationship with Minnesota United and, being able to loan players in from there. And so to be able to show and make a good relationship with an MLS club and in return, maybe get, a little bit of preference on loan players, younger players coming into our club, I think that's huge. And in return, just to ask you a question and maybe, put a little bit of a personal spin on this, who's the one player that if you found out it was them that you think would like hurt this team the most?
Oh, I think it has to be JJ.
Really?
I think so. I mean, we just signed a striker, but like, is that guy good enough to just immediately pick up the pace where JJ left off? Like, I really don't think we're as good per se without him. I think that we can maybe beat some of the bottom feeders, but if we want to be competitive and if we want to go up against the Louisville and be able to like beat them in a playoff match, if you don't have JJ, like I struggle to see it, especially with the form that kind of the rest of our striker core is in, if you will, right? If we had maybe 2024 Noah Fuson, I'd be like, I don't know, like maybe like let that man cook. Like maybe we're good to go. But like I haven't seen enough goals come from other places. We have a cast of supporting characters, but at the end of the day, like the leading man right now is JJ Williams. I mean, 6 goals, 4 assists. I just you can't replace that. We look at Quizera, 1 assist, 5 goals. Alfonso, 1 assist, 3 goals, 2 assists for Rodriguez. I mean, just no one else comes close to the numbers that he has right now. And you immediately, like, this team has been scoring a lot more this year. Can we, like, we have to go sign another striker if it's him? Like, we need 2, right? You can't just. And I'd say we need a ready-made striker too, it's like someone who knows the USL system and is ready to just plug and play, drop into a team, hit the ground running within 1 to 2 weeks, just start scoring.
Cal Jennings. Turn your volume up because I'm not going to repeat that.
I wonder what he's doing.
I mean, I agree to an extent. That wasn't the first player that came to my mind. I didn't even think about in terms of what we have, the options behind it. I was thinking more about like purely their impact on the team. And for me, the answer is very easily Hugo Bacharach. I think that Hugo Bacharach has changed this midfield completely. We spent so many seasons playing a midfield 3 because we could not play with 2. We did not have a player that was able to do as much as he was. And now that we have him, as good as Clay and as good as ASTR, Hugo completes this team. And every time we see him out of the lineup, we see a marked down performance, and it's clear and obvious. His ability to play out of the press, his ability to defend, his height and physicality off set pieces, his ability to drive forward with the ball, these things are things that I think Clay can do a lot of these things, but not all of them. Otherwise, these are things that this team would drastically miss without him. And the fact that he is younger makes me very worried that it could be him.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he also has MLS ties as well. And I think he is, in my opinion, been our best player and most consistent player all season. I'm a little nervous that it's Hugo. And
I think if not, I think a bid is already incoming right now. The MLS scouts clearly
I didn't
watching.
say to anyone who goes an awful player. MLS clubs, click off. This is not an MLS podcast.
All right. Well, we don't have any confirmation of any moves here, so we could speculate all night. So let's move on to the mailbag here. Andrew M says we need to pick up some points. What's our near future look like schedule wise? Are we feeling good?
I'm feeling all right. I think it's a lot of big games, but again, as much as big games can be scary because you may drop points, if you can get wins, it really shows the mark of a newer team right now. Because as much as we've played well, in my opinion, all season, we need to find ways to get points in the games where we have bad moments. So at the moment, we obviously have Pittsburgh next week. After that, we play Birmingham Legion away. Then on August 8th, we have our home game, the rematch against the Colorado Springs Switchbacks, which should be a fun game. Obviously, it is Bad Bunny night as well. And then after that, we go away to the Tampa Bay Rowdies. That's a tough schedule, don't get me wrong. But again, I love the fact that it's a chance for these players to show that we are a team that can be in the top 4, top 5 discussions. So me personally, as much as I'm a little bit worried, I think this is a team that's ready for it.
Absolutely. I look at these matches and think none of these are easy per se, but I think that honestly it's doable with the way that this team has been playing. They just can't have a Sacramento Republic night, because that performance will not get them any points. Who do we got here next?
From Matt M, we have, is the reason Matt wasn't on the last show because he asked this and was recovering from a Kano throat punch.
So for context, there was a joke when Matt said, do we even practice penalties? And then all of a sudden we're good at them now. They were like, well, maybe you willed it into existence. The joke was to ask Kano, like, can you even win the USL championship? To will that into existence. Obviously, that never happened, and Kano would not be happy about having to answer that question. We will. He barely tolerates us. We would not never say that to him. But no, he is spending time with family, so he is out having a good time here.
Slacking is the answer that you're looking for.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but another Matt here, Matt E says, Providence ninth largest market. Does this translate to RIFC?
So this one is actually coming in live from Matt Entrican again, slacking. He's watching the show, but not on it. You heard it from not me. It depends. I think it's an interesting one, and I didn't think I really thought about it at first. I think it should, honestly. I think, if I'm going to be honest, I do actually think that us having a couple weeks off was a bit of a missed opportunity in terms of growing it. I know people would say the opposite because there were World Cup games on, so who would come? But at the same time, like imagine having the Torin Army down for an RIFC game. Do you know how amazing that would have been? You know, but I do think hopefully this can translate. I do think the RIFC need to work off that, and as much as it happens with the media teams and all of that, and the actual team and board itself, and has to do with the players as well. Again, if we can pick up a couple wins now with soccer being so big in this state, then I think we can easily take this platform and keep growing.
Absolutely. And I kind of spread my love around to a lot of different watch parties, and I went to a few that were like quote unquote official RIFC ones, if you will. And I saw them out there kind of trying to get out there and spread the word. But I think what this shows is that there are a lot of different communities in this state that all love their team, and like, how do you grab their attention then and say, well, of course you can support Cape Verde. Of course you can support Colombia, but also you live in Rhode Island. We have a team here for you that's just like 10 minutes away. Like, why don't you come down? I think it also could help if like it didn't rain every single Saturday ever. Because that, hasn't been great for us. I think people like look at the forecast and say, and if you're not a sicko, they're not going to just go stand in the rain, in shorts and a t-shirt like I did last weekend. But there's still a lot of work to do, and I think they need to continue to like say, hey, we are here, please come check us out. But I think the bump is maybe not going to be seen immediately. It's going to take a little bit of time for that to kind of pan out.
Yeah, I fully agree. Again, it's like you can get them in the door, but can you kind of get them to stay? And I think that is a lot on the team itself and the players, and if we can get those results and the weather. Hopefully August 8th we get some sun. Bill S asks, now that RIFC are in a playoff spot, where do you see them finishing this season?
Ooh, good question.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so we're in 8th now. Hopefully we can maintain that with a result here on the weekend. Like, if I look at the table, the thing is here, looking at teams like, all right, we're not going to couch the Rowdies. Are we going to be like second or third? Probably not. I don't know if I'm convinced about Louisville. They just got smacked around by the Riverhounds. Their form is a bit inconsistent. Miami, World Cup FC, like it's tough. To me, it's tough to see this team really finishing in the top 4. I think there's a good opportunity for 5 or 6 to be solid, but I just haven't seen enough from the higher teams dropping form to really give us the opportunity to like sneak in there. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I fully agree. I think for me, I'll give you 2 better, and I'll give you 3 predictions. My ceiling for us, I would say, is we creep into 4th and we get that home playoff spot. Again, we are games in hand, so if we do get 2 wins, that would actually put us on 1 point above
Fourth place.
Louisville, who's in fourth.
Yeah.
So that is a very big possibility, and we're playing very well. Our floor for me, so the worst I think realistically we could do, obviously barring any injuries, I would say is probably 8th. I don't see us not making the playoffs. I think last year was my biggest worry of us not making the playoffs. And as per usual, at the end of the season, we decided to turn up and got into that top 8. So I don't see that happening. And if I'm going to be realistic and give my true prediction, I think I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to go 5th. I think we'll just barely miss that top 4, but it'll have us at a good point going into the playoffs, playing the 4th team and being, the best of the bottom 4. I definitely think will be a big help for us going into the playoff stretch.
Yeah, I tend to agree too. I don't see is there any opportunity that we miss unless our team actually crumbles apart and everyone's injured.
Yeah, we should maybe not say this until this rumor is sorted out, and then maybe we'll go back to this.
Ooh,
but
yeah, no, I mean, we'll edit it out. It never happened.
Yeah, we got it. Definitely not live or anything. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it wasn't there. Zach T says, "Is this a step down for Foyo? Isn't League One a better league than the USL Championship?" Quick side note: every time I see his name, I want to say Froyo.
Yeah, I saw people in the Discord were saying that Apothecary needs to do like a Froyo flavor, a Froyo. Sold. Immediately sold. It's a tough one. I think it's very tough to look at the two different leagues. As someone who does have a decent amount of experience in the English pyramid, I do think that it's one that hasn't been tested too much, and I'm very interested to see how it tests up. But it's important to also know that this isn't a League One starter. This is a player that was still struggling for minutes at Wimbledon. He went on loan twice in order to sort of gain those minutes. So this isn't quite a League One player. I'd say he's more of a League Two, kind of in between a 3rd and 4th division starter. But again, I think it's going to be an interesting way to find out. I think for him, you're looking at getting minutes as a guarantee, but it also does make me question, what did Connor say to him? Because it is a big thing moving all the way from England to the United States to play a sport that isn't as big. I think in League One, having been to Wimbledon games, the atmosphere is obviously incredible, and you get near a sold out game every night, and we're not quite there yet, not only as a club, but as a country. So it is an interesting one, and I am wondering what sort of his buy-in was from Connor Smith.
Yeah. What do we got here next?
Stacy L says, a new forward. Yes. Is he supposed to compete for JJ's job or be a substitute?
I take a look at this and say that, unless he's maybe trying, unless apparently he's the one leaving, who knows? Then maybe he's a starter. If not, I think he's a rotational player. But I also think that because of his flexibility there, I think that Leo Alfonso's position in this team, which is already kind of in flux in terms of him being a bit more of a rotation player instead of a guaranteed starter, I think he could be vying for that spot, especially if you've said that he could look like a player who's better in a 2-striker system. Maybe we could see some kind of opportunity for him to play as that second, forward, if you will, on one of the sides.
Yeah, I certainly think that he's at a bare minimum going to be competition for JJ. I think it's important for every player, no matter how good they're playing, to have some sort of competition behind them. And I think it's something we talked about a lot last last year on the podcast about how JJ didn't really have any competition because Chico wasn't playing to the highest of highs. So naturally, I think it's going to help both of them be better. But I certainly agree that it could be interesting. He could start with JJ. That is a possibility. He can play out wide and he can play a double striker. But at a bare minimum, I think he's going to be great to provide that competition for JJ.
Yeah. Ben S says, this new striker we brought in seems to fit the build we like at that position. He comes from an EFL League One side, but has spent a majority of his time on loan in the lower divisions. What type of impact are you expecting to see from him in regards to the season? And as well, do you see him as a future piece considering we signed a long-term deal, or is this more like an Ndongo situation?
I think this is a great question. And as someone that did a lot of research in that Ndongo situation, I think it's very different. I think Ndongo is coming in from a Cameroonian league at 18. This is a player that's coming from the English pyramid, at his best. He signed for Ipswich in the 2nd division and even got minutes for AFC Wimbledon in the 3rd division. And is 21. So these are two very different things where Ndongo was definitely a player that was for the future, as we mentioned a lot. but this is a player that could certainly come in and be an impact now. To what extent? That's obviously tough to say. I think for me, I expect him to be, as I said, bare minimum competition for JJ. And I kind of think I see that as the most for him. I think he maybe picks up a couple of goals here and there off the bench. I think we will see him every now and then playing with JJ as a double striker. Do I think it will ever mean that, we start a game with the both of them? I think that's maybe a little bit far to say for this season. And I don't think Kano will quite want to go with that, as we've seen his love for the 4-2-3-1 with an attacking midfielder. So again, for him, I think a couple goals would be a great for him. He's still young, so he's going to improve. So I do see him as a future piece as well, but not quite an Ndongo of, going to get barely any minutes this year. I think he'll definitely come in and show some impact from the get-go. Next up, we have from Pawtucket J is, when will Foyo be available?
Good question. So official word from the club is he's still processing through ITC visa requirements and isn't available for this match. Potentially, I'm going to say Colo Spigs, but it all comes down to how fast that documentation gets in order. And then another one, speaking of Pawtucket J, do we have a potential time frame on this move to happen? This is breaking news that we've got from some of our sources. It's smoke at this point. We don't know if this is actually 100% set to happen. We will see. As soon as we have confirmation, we'll let you guys know.
Do we have like an opposite of the rocket gif? Like, do we have like a leaving gif? Like, do we need to reverse it, like flip it and then post that?
That's good. Me and Matt will have to workshop that and figure out a gif for a departure. Those will definitely be a lot more scary, right? When we see the incoming rockets, we're like, oh, everyone kind of gets excited, anxious, like, it's Christmas, like, what's going on? And we see the other ones like, oh no, get out the box of tissues. Rachel H says here, are we done with signings or will we continue to get reinforcements?
So starting off with what we've heard from the club is that the club is looking at more reinforcements. Kano always says that he's still always looking, but we have heard that they are looking towards getting more midfielders. Obviously, we've seen injuries to Clay Holstad, Zach Haribo at the moment, and we definitely see more injuries. I think Hugo and ASC are playing a lot of minutes, so to get one final fifth midfielder is very important. I think that would be a great signing. Again, we talked about it on last week's pod, that would be a very good move as well. Now that we've gotten that striker that we both said was kind of the important one that we needed, can we now go and get another midfielder to help compete for that double pivot role?
Yeah, and then also assuming if this potential MLS move happens, we're probably going to need someone else too. So I'd say there's a very good possibility that we sign a few more players this window. Last one here, I skipped over one. Yours.
We have from Eric N. Are we at our best right now to take on Pittsburgh? We've never beaten them in regular season, but I feel like we're ready to change our fortunes. Am I setting my expectations too high?
No, I actually, there's a part of me that's like, I think we got this. Like, I don't want to get too overconfident because it's like we've talked about, we haven't done a lot. We haven't done well against them, but I just don't know if I'm convinced that they are the real deal to a certain extent. The only thing that worries me is that it is an away game. I'd be a lot more confident if it was at home and say, like, it'll fine. We'll find a way to get this done. Centerville Bank Stadium is a fortress, but I understand the sentiment. I do think that we're in a good position, and I think the form has been pretty well for us, and I think there's a good opportunity that we could, at minimum, like, sneak away with a draw here against the team. We've not gotten a draw against them since the very first time that we've played them. So honestly, if you think about it that way, like, that is an improvement, right? It's not the points we want, it's the points we deserve. Last one here to round out the questions. Matt E. Obviously, I'm pretty sure this is Matt Entrican. Like, are we seeing the Ipswich pipeline be constructed? Did Brett Johnson have anything to do with this? It's funny because he is asking this to us. As the insider, he would know these. And I definitely think it's possible. I don't know if you've gotten any sort of insider. Of course, they dropped this news like while I'm like busy at work. And I was just like, cool. I am not free for the next 9 hours. Like I can't do anything right now.
Again, of course, I wrote everything for this pod yesterday and then woke up to this news. So I just had to rewrite everything, but it's fine. I mean, again, from what we've heard, we don't have any specifics on how this move came about to be. It's a possibility for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some connection that helped in a way, especially sort of convince him to come to Rhode Island FC. But I think this would be a great pipeline to have. I think we've seen it with Minnesota United in the MLS, but to have one in Europe and in the English leagues in particular, where the English pyramid is so deep and you can get so many different players, whether it's English-born players or as we're seeing with Foyo, Dutch-born players and players from other European countries. I think this would be huge if this is what is happening. We are seeing this pipeline be constructed from RIFC to European leagues.
Absolutely. I hope it is the start of a relationship. I think that having those abilities to reach out to clubs who have players who need that development and need to play in a competitive league and actually get some minutes can be huge and give us an opportunity to bring in players. Tie that even into the fact that maybe we are selling players to MLS. That could be a pipeline for players like, hey, the reality is maybe I'm not good enough to cut it at the top. Maybe I've always had this dream of playing in America or something, or just to get another opportunity. I mean, we've even seen the MLS is now trying to change. They want to change their windows. # not an MLS soccer show, so that they can be more attractive to sell players back to other leagues. Like maybe it's this weird cyclical move where we're taking in players, sending them up, and then they get to move back finally, like after some more development. Thank you everyone for sending in your questions. Always appreciate it. Please always just send us in your questions. Always a great time. Let's round this out here. Looking at the refs, we have head ref Abdu Indaye, Josh Lemkins, Miklos Hendricks, and Pavel Grigoriev. I didn't recognize this ref, and since we got burned a few matches ago, I was like, well, let me just check, see if I can figure out what this guy did. He was the ref for the 2024 USL, or he was the 2024 USL Championship Ref of the Year. I don't know if that was per se good or bad. He did ref the 2024 Colo Spigs final, which I think we were just bad in. I don't particularly remember any kind of egregious calls. The loss to New Mexico United, which is not great. But so, we're striking out for 2, but also another game where just we weren't on it. However, he reffed the OG goals galore, 8-1 against Miami. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably fine. I'm not going to read in too much to it. It's an away game, so we are back at the Guild. Watch party 7 p.m. If you are unable to make it there, you can catch the match on ESPN Select, Nessun Plus, or you can listen along on the radio on 790 The Score with Nick and Tom. Thank you again, Torin, so much for filling in for Matt here. Maybe he'll need to go on a few more vacations so we can have you on the show more often.
Anytime.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Take care. We hope to see you this weekend. Anchors up.
Anchors up.
You've been listening to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. You can follow the show on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok at RIFC Podcast and at Raising Anchor on Instagram. And be sure to check out and subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen by searching for Raising Anchor. Make sure to check out all of our coverage over at the Blazing Musket for all your New England soccer coverage, including RIFC news at theblazingmusket.com. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask you to be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the show. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm your main man, Juju, and on behalf of the Raising Anchor crew, goodbye for now. And as always, we are Rhode Island FC.